The silent battle. The mining colony on planet Rethar 9 was supposed to be quiet that night. The air was thick with red dust and the tunnels hummed with the low sound of machines working deep below. The alien workers, tall and blue-skinned Vorians, moved carefully. Afraid of the cracks that had begun to appear in the rocks, they said the planet was unstable, that something ancient slept beneath its surface. But no one believed them until the ground opened. A deafening roar echoed through the tunnels. Metal beams snapped like twigs, the lights flickered, and a massive shape crawled out of the darkness. It was the Abyss Beast, a creature of bone and ash, its body glowing faintly with heat, its eyes burning red like molten iron. The workers screamed and scattered, throwing their tools and running toward the surface. Only one person didn't run. Marcus Hale, a human engineer stationed there for maintenance, stood frozen for a heartbeat, his mind racing. He'd seen many accidents in his life, but nothing like this. The creature's claws were long enough to cut through steel, and it was heading straight toward the wounded, a small Vorian girl pinned under fallen pipes. The girl's eyes were wide with terror. Her chest heaved as she tried to move, but the debris was too heavy. She screamed, and her voice echoed through the tunnel. Marcus didn't think. He ran. The Vorians watching from the control room could not believe it. The monitors showed a lone human sprinting toward the monster while everyone else fled. "He's insane," one of them said. "That beast killed an entire rescue team last year." But the human didn't stop. He grabbed a steel rod from the floor, his boots sliding on the dust. "Come on, you ugly thing," Marcus shouted. Waving the torch in his hand, the Abyss Beast turned, its mouth opening to reveal rows of sharp teeth. Its breath came out like smoke. It roared again, shaking the walls. The human stood his ground. The heat from its body burned his face, but he didn't move back. He struck the steel rod against the wall. Sparks flew. The creature flinched at the light. Marcus noticed it. Its skin reacted to heat and fire. He looked up and saw the emergency vent above, a red switch on the wall, an exhaust system designed to release hot steam from the tunnels. He ran toward it. The beast followed, claws scraping the ground. The alien girl cried out as the tremors grew stronger. Marcus reached the valve, twisted it hard. Nothing happened. It was jammed. He gritted his teeth and slammed the rod against it again and again until it broke free. A jet of white-hot steam burst into the tunnel. The beast screamed, its skin cracking and hissing. Marcus grabbed the girl and covered her with his own body as the heat filled the air. The ground shook and then silence. When the smoke cleared, the creature was gone. Only a pile of blackened scales remained. The human's uniform was scorched. His hands burned, but he was alive. The girl trembled under his arm. "It's okay," he whispered. "You're safe now." The Vorians slowly returned, their glowing eyes wide with disbelief. They had never seen anyone, especially a human, do such a thing. Their commander looked at Marcus, his voice shaking. "You faced the Abyss Beast alone." Marcus shrugged, his face pale with exhaustion. "She needed help," he said simply. "That's all." Later in the medical bay, the Vorian technicians replayed the footage again and again. One said softly, "He protected her like she was his own child." Another whispered, "Humans were banned for being violent, but this one, he saved us." The colony broadcast system accidentally leaked the video to nearby stations, and within hours, millions of aliens watched it. A human shielding a wounded alien girl from a nightmare creature. They called him the Fireborn in the quiet of the night. Marcus sat outside the medbay, looking at the red horizon of Rethar 9, his hands wrapped in bandages, his body aching. He didn't know his act had already reached half the galaxy. He didn't know that people who once hated humans were now whispering his name. Inside, the girl, Talara, slept, clutching the edge of his burnt jacket like a blanket. In her dreams, she heard the roar again, but this time the sound ended not in fear, but in warmth. The alien commander stood by the glass, watching them both, and said quietly, "Maybe we were wrong about humans." Far away, in the Galactic Council hall, a report blinked on a holographic table. An aide frowned and said, "A human has been seen on Rethar 9. He saved one of our own." The room fell silent, and a voice in the dark replied, "Then we have a problem." The galaxy didn't know it yet, but something had changed forever. A spark had been lit in the hearts of millions, and it started with one human, one act of courage, and one little girl who survived. The girl who remembered. When the Vorian girl opened her eyes, the light of the medbay was soft and white. Machines hummed gently around her. For a moment she thought she was still in the tunnels, trapped hearing the beast's roar. But then she saw a man sitting nearby, wrapped in bandages, his head lowered in exhaustion. He was human. Her first instinct was fear. For her whole life she had been told that humans were dangerous, unpredictable and violent, but this one had thrown himself between her and death. Her mind replayed flashes of fire, steam, and his voice shouting through the chaos. "You're safe now." The nurse, another Vorian, leaned over her. "You're lucky, Talara," she said softly. "The human saved you." Talara tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "Where? Where is he?" The nurse hesitated. "He's still here. But the council ordered him to stay under watch. They don't trust humans. Even the ones who save lives." Talara turned her head, her gaze finding Marcus through the glass wall. He sat quietly on the bed, looking out the window toward the red horizon. His right hand trembled as he tried to tighten the bandages. He looked weak, but his eyes, they held something powerful, something she had never seen before. That night, Talara left her bed, her small feet silent on the cold floor. The guards outside ignored her, thinking she was just another patient wandering. She entered the recovery room where Marcus lay, his head resting on his arm, half asleep. He opened his eyes slowly, surprised to see the young alien girl standing there. "You should rest," he said in a quiet voice. She walked closer, her small silver eyes glistening. "Why did you save me?" she asked. "You didn't even know me." Marcus smiled faintly, the kind of smile that hid pain. "You were alive," he said. "That was enough reason." She frowned, confused. "But my people, they say humans act only for gain, that you fight and destroy." He looked at her with tired kindness. "Maybe some do, but not all of us. Sometimes we just help." Outside the room, hidden microphones recorded everything. A pair of Vorian officers listened from behind tinted glass. One of them whispered, "He's dangerous." "He's planting ideas in her mind." The other nodded. "We must report this to the council." By the next morning, the story had already reached hundreds of systems. A human saving a Vorian child. It became a symbol of hope to some and a threat to others. The Galactic Council convened an emergency meeting. "The human must be questioned," said the Chancellor, her voice cold. "If this story continues, it will undo decades of control. The people will start to think humans are noble." But it was too late. The footage of Marcus shielding the girl had already been transmitted to civilian networks. Thousands of Vorians shared it. Some whispered prayers to the human of fire. Others painted his image on walls. Rebellion stirred quietly in the corners of the Empire. Meanwhile, Talara refused to stay silent. She visited Marcus every day, asking about Earth, about what humans believed. He told her stories of oceans, mountains, laughter, and loss. She listened with wide eyes, learning that humanity was not what her world had described. "I thought your kind was extinct," she said one afternoon, her tone soft. "I thought the council wiped you away." Marcus looked down. "They didn't need to kill us," he said. "They just made everyone forget." At that moment, alarms blared across the station. Red lights flashed. Guards rushed through corridors. A voice shouted over the intercom. "Unauthorized data transmission detected. Someone is leaking restricted files." The security team burst into the medbay. Weapons raised. "Step away from the human," the commander ordered. Talara stepped in front of Marcus without hesitation. "No," she said firmly. "He saved me. He is not your enemy." The soldiers hesitated. Shocked at her defiance, she was the daughter of General Kale, one of the highest-ranking officers in the Vorian fleet. No one dared to touch her. In that moment, Marcus realized the truth. "They want the story gone," he whispered. "They want to erase what happened." Outside, storm clouds formed over the red horizon. Lightning split the sky as power flickered through the colony. The council's message arrived. An order to transfer the human to a secure facility far away. No communication allowed. That night, as they prepared to take him away, Talara met him one last time in the corridor, her voice shaking. "They'll hurt you," she said. "They'll make you disappear." Marcus looked at her and smiled gently. "Maybe," he said. "But remember this, Talara. Even if they silence me, don't let them silence the truth." Tears shimmered in her eyes as the guards pulled him away. He didn't resist, his steps slow and steady. The girl watched until the doors closed, clutching the small piece of cloth he had left behind, the patch from his uniform that read, Earth Federation Engineer. Hours later, her father returned from orbit. Furious, "What have you done?" he demanded. "The council is watching us now." Talara looked up at him with calm defiance. I'm only doing what he did, she said. Protecting someone who didn't deserve to die. Her father's voice broke for the first time. You don't understand, child, he whispered. If the council fears this human, it's because he's already changed something none of them can control. Outside the ship's windows, the stars flickered brighter than usual, and somewhere among them, a message traveled through the network faster than the council could stop it. The image of a burned human holding a child while fire surrounded them, captioned with 6 words that shook entire worlds. If kindness is rebellion, I am guilty. The galaxy had seen the spark, and no force could put it out again. The message that spread, the storm outside Rethar 9 had not stopped for 3 days. Red lightning split the horizon, carrying with it whispers of what had happened in the tunnels, what one human had done and what the council now feared. In a dark communication hub orbiting the colony, a young alien technician stared at his screen, his hand shaking. It's spreading, he whispered, lines of data flashing before him. The footage, it's everywhere. I can't stop it. Across star systems, markets, and temples, the same image appeared. A human shielding a small Vorian girl as fire closed in around them. The caption glowing beneath it, if kindness is rebellion, I am guilty. No one knew who had written those words, but everyone felt them, workers in the mines, soldiers in the fleet. Even the slaves in the outer colonies looked up from their chains and whispered, the human is alive. Meanwhile, Marcus Hale sat in a small cell aboard a council ship, the walls humming with energy restraints. He could feel the vibration of the engines beneath his feet. The guards refused to look at him, as if afraid that meeting his eyes would change them too. He didn't know that his act had become a symbol. He only knew that the ship was headed toward the capital world, where humans were never allowed to set foot again. On the Vorian homeworld, General Kale stormed into the council chamber, his armor still dusted with the red sand of Rethar 9. You're making a mistake, he said. Punishing him will turn him into a legend. The Chancellor turned, her eyes cold and luminous. He already is, she said. But legends can be erased. Kale slammed his fist on the table, the sound echoing through the room. You can't erase what people have already seen. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Then we will erase those who speak of it. Outside the chamber, Talara waited, hidden beneath her hood. She had stolen her father's clearance card and entered the restricted sector. Her hands trembled as she accessed the ship logs. She could see Marcus's prison ship listed under codename Silent Wing. It was heading toward the Nabaran Void, a place from which prisoners never returned. She pressed her wristband, sending a message into the underground network. The same rebels who had spread Marcus's image now waited for her signal. Find him, she whispered, before they do across the galaxy. Unrest grew in the factory planets of Core. Workers refused to labor, chanting, "One life for one life," the same phrase Marcus had muttered in the tunnels on the frozen moon of Alvar. Soldiers painted human handprints on their armor, a sign of defiance. The council tried to silence the waves of rebellion, cutting networks, jamming signals, but every time they shut one down, 3 more appeared in the deep space prison ship. Marcus sat quietly, staring at the stars beyond the energy bars. He could hear the low hum of the engines. He closed his eyes and remembered Earth, the oceans, the laughter, the faces long gone. Then he smiled faintly because he knew, even in silence, stories travel faster than light. Suddenly the lights flickered, alarms blared. The guards shouted in confusion. "Engine malfunction, deck 3, one cried. The ship rocked violently. Marcus fell against the wall, then heard a hiss as his door unlocked. He blinked in shock. Standing before him was a cloaked figure, silver eyes glinting in the red emergency light. "Talara?" he whispered. She nodded, her voice trembling. "We have to go now." "How did you find me?" he asked as she helped him to his feet. "I didn't," she said. "The galaxy did." They moved through the corridors, alarms echoing behind them. The ship shook again as small rebel fighters attacked from outside. Explosions lit up the black sky. The air filled with smoke and chaos. By the time they reached the docking bay, a group of rebels, Vorians, Rithans, and even a single human smuggler waited for them. "Welcome back, Marcus Hale," the smuggler said with a grin. "You're famous," Marcus frowned. "I didn't want fame." "Too late for that," the man replied, handing him a blaster. "You're the hope they've been waiting for." They escaped through the firestorm, the prison ship breaking apart behind them. The rebels cheered, but Marcus only stared out the window as the wreckage fell into the void. "They'll hunt us now," he said quietly. Talara looked at him, her expression calm and fierce. "Then let them come," she said. "We'll show them what humanity really means." At that same moment in the council hall, the Chancellor watched the flames of the prison ship on the main screen. Her face pale. "The human has escaped," her aide whispered. She turned slowly, her voice cold. "No," she said. "He's been released by the galaxy itself." Outside, billions of messages flooded the networks. Chants echoed across systems. The human lives, the fireborn returns. The message that began as a spark had become a storm, and the galaxy was no longer silent. The betrayal. The stars outside flickered like silent witnesses as Marcus and Talara's small ship drifted through the cold of deep space. Their escape from the Council's prison fleet had sparked something far greater than either of them imagined. Entire worlds whispered their names, and rebellion was no longer a rumor. It was movement. But power always draws fear, and fear always breeds betrayal. Hidden within the asteroid belt of Vornis, the rebels built a base, an old human structure buried under rock, its walls covered with forgotten banners of the Earth Federation. Marcus ran his fingers along the faded emblem. "We were meant to build bridges," he murmured. "Not graves." Talara stood beside him, her silver eyes dim in the low light. "Your people are gone," she said softly, "but their stories remain, and now your story has joined them." Outside, hundreds of alien species worked together, fixing ships, patching armor, training in silence. For the first time in centuries, Vorians fought beside humans, Rithons beside Koran miners, all inspired by a single moment of mercy that had broken the galaxy's fear. But within that unity, shadows moved in the upper deck of the base. A Vorian informant sent a coded signal to the Council, his voice shaking as he whispered, "They are gathering here, and the human leads them." He sent the coordinates, then erased the transmission. But guilt had already eaten through his soul. Meanwhile, in the war chamber, Marcus spoke before the Alliance leaders. "We don't need another empire," he said, his voice steady. "We need understanding. If we become what they are, then humanity's sacrifice means nothing." A reptilian warlord slammed his claws on the table. "Mercy is weakness," he hissed. "The Council only understands power." Marcus met his gaze calmly. "Power without heart destroys itself," he said. That's what they never learned. The debate grew fierce. Some wanted peace, others wanted vengeance. And between them stood Marcus, the human no one could control. Later that night, as the others rested, Talara found Marcus alone on the balcony, watching the stars. "They don't all agree with you," she said quietly. "I know," he replied, "but they don't have to. They just have to remember why we fight." She looked at him. "And if they forget?" He turned, a faint smile on his face. "Then I'll remind them." Suddenly, alarms screamed through the base, red lights flashing against the rock walls. "Incoming ships," a voice shouted. "Unmarked, but their pattern matches Council signatures." Chaos broke out. Rebels rushed to their stations. Ships scrambled from the hangars. Marcus and Talara ran toward the command room, screens filled with red dots closing fast. "They found us," she whispered. Marcus looked around the room, realization dawning. "No, someone told them," he said. "There's a traitor here." The base shook as explosions echoed through the tunnels. Fragments of metal rained from the ceiling. Soldiers screamed orders. Fighters roared into the blackness. Marcus grabbed the comm. "Evacuate Sector 7 now." Outside, the first Council destroyer emerged from the void. Its black hull gleaming like a blade, it opened fire. Tearing through the asteroid defenses, the rebels fought back. But they were outnumbered 3-1. Talara turned to Marcus. "We can't win this fight," she said. "We have to escape." Marcus shook his head. "If we run now, they'll crush every system that helped us. We hold the line." He ran toward the control console and activated the old human beacon, the same one he had repaired months ago. "If this is the end," he said, "let them see what we stand for." The beacon lit up, broadcasting their signal across hundreds of worlds, showing the Council's fleet attacking an unarmed base filled with refugees, civilians and children. Once again, the galaxy was watching. But inside the chaos, the traitor revealed himself. The Vorian informant who had sent the signal stood trembling near the power core. Guilt written across his face. "I didn't mean for this," he cried. "They promised they wouldn't fire if I just gave them your location." Marcus looked at him, his voice calm even as the walls trembled. "And you believed them?" The traitor fell to his knees. I thought they'd spare us." Talara raised her weapon, fury burning in her eyes. But Marcus stopped her. "No," he said softly. "He'll live with what he's done, that's punishment enough." The explosions grew louder. The floor cracked beneath their feet. Marcus turned to Talara. "Get the civilians to the evacuation pods," he said. "I'll stay here and hold the signal." She shook her head violently. "No, not again, I won't leave you this time." He smiled faintly, placing a burnt piece of his old jacket into her hands. "You won't have to. Just make sure the story survives." Before she could answer, another explosion ripped through the ceiling. Debris fell, smoke filled the air. Soldiers dragged her away as Marcus ran toward the beacon chamber, sealing the doors behind him. Through the haze, he looked up at the blinking light, whispering, "Let them see the truth one last time outside." The council commander watched the battle unfold. Her aide reported, "The human base is collapsing. Should we cease fire?" She stared at the screen coldly. "No," she said. "Not until nothing remains." The final explosion consumed the asteroid in light, and the signal cut to static. But across the galaxy, millions had already seen the broadcast, and for the first time, entire worlds turned against the council. Marcus Hale was gone, or so they believed. But the legend of the man who stood against darkness had only just begun. The battle for truth. The light from the destroyed asteroid burned across space like a second sun. For hours the debris drifted silently, carrying dust, twisted metal, and the whispers of those who had fought. The galaxy believed Marcus Hale was dead. Yet the signal he sent before the blast still moved through the stars, unstoppable, immortal across 1,000 worlds. Screens flickered to life on their own, showing a human standing against the flames, protecting the weak, holding the line even as the sky fell. The message repeated again and again. If kindness is rebellion, then let it spread on the Vorian capital. The Chancellor watched the endless broadcast, her fists trembling. "Cut it," she hissed. "Erase it from every system." Her aide stammered. "We tried, Supreme Chancellor, but the signal isn't coming from one source. It's coming from thousands. They're mirroring it. It's alive." The council chamber filled with fear. They had silenced planets before, erased voices, destroyed histories. But this time the truth had become a living storm. Meanwhile, deep inside the Neburan void, aboard a broken rebel transport drifting among the wreckage, a pulse of light blinked faintly beneath twisted steel. A voice whispered through static, "Talara." Inside a damaged escape pod, Talara's eyes opened, gasping for breath. Fire and smoke surrounded her. Her last memory was Marcus pushing her into the pod, sealing it and whispering through the glass, "Live for me." She crawled through the broken hull, her body bruised, her heart heavy. Around her floated hundreds of ruined ships, the remains of the battle. Yet somehow she could still hear the beacon's faint hum through the static. She followed it, limping toward the light. When she reached the wreck of the main chamber, she froze. In the center of the ruin lay the human beacon, still glowing, its light pulsing in rhythm like a heartbeat. And beside it, a figure half buried under metal. Marcus Hale, his uniform torn, his body barely moving, but his eyes were open. "Marcus," she cried, falling to her knees. "Pulling away the debris, you're alive," he coughed weakly. Blood on his lips. "Not for long," he whispered. "But long enough." She gripped his hand tightly, tears burning her eyes. "You can't die now. The galaxy needs you," he smiled faintly. "No, it doesn't need me anymore," he said. "It needs the truth." Outside, the council fleet returned to the scene. Their scanners searching for survivors, the Chancellor's orders were clear. Erase all traces. No witnesses, no memory, but within the wreckage. Talara refused to run. She linked the beacon's core to her wristband, amplifying the signal again. "This is Talara of the Vorian people," she said into the mic, her voice echoing across systems. "The human lives, and his message lives with him. Look at what they did here. Look at what they fear." Her transmission reached the outer colonies first, then the trade worlds, then the capital cities. Millions stopped what they were doing, watching in silence as her face appeared on their screens. Behind her, the dying human smiled. The Chancellor slammed her hands on the table. "Destroy that signal," she screamed. "Now!" But her fleet hesitated one by one. The captains lowered their weapons. The soldiers stared at the transmission, and something inside them broke on the council flagship. A Vorian officer turned off his comm and whispered to his crew, "I will not kill her." All across the fleet, the same decision spread like wildfire: refusal, defiance, rebellion. Marcus tried to rise, his voice rough. They're seeing it, he said. They finally see. Talara held his shoulders. Save your strength, he shook his head. No strength left to save, he murmured, but listen. If this ends me, don't let them make it about death. Make it about choice. The beacon blazed brighter. A column of golden light shooting into the sky, illuminating the wreckage, illuminating hope, then silence. The council fleet opened fire, beams tearing through the void. Talara screamed as the energy burst engulfed them. The screen went white, but across the galaxy, the last frame froze, Marcus reaching toward her, light surrounding him like wings, and then the words beneath, "Truth cannot die." Hours later in the rebel shipyards on planet Seer, the signal finished transmitting. Engineers stared at the screen in awe. He's gone, one said softly, but he won. The galaxy erupted. Riots on council worlds, soldiers laying down their weapons, colonies declaring independence, and every broadcast began with the same image. The human who stood in the fire. On the ruins of Rethar 9, the people built statues not of warlords or rulers, but of a man kneeling beside a child. Both looking toward the stars, the inscription read, "He saved one of us, and in doing so saved us all." The battle for truth was over, but its echo would last for generations. For every being who saw the beacon remembered not the man's strength, but his mercy, and in that mercy, they found the courage to change. And somewhere, deep beyond known space, a signal pulsed quietly again. The heartbeat of humanity. Still alive, still watching, still waiting for the next call for help. The galaxy reacts. The galaxy did not sleep that night. The stars seemed brighter, as if they too were watching, as if even the universe itself paused to listen to the echo of one man's final words. The beacon's light had vanished, but its message refused to die. It spread like fire through silence, crossing systems, planets, and hearts. On the Vorian capital, thousands filled the streets, chanting the same name, Marcus Hale, once a forgotten engineer, now a symbol that no empire could contain. Alien soldiers dropped their weapons and joined the crowds. Others painted his mark, the burning circle of the beacon across their armor. The Chancellor stood before the council, her voice trembling with fury. "We have lost control," she said. "Entire fleets have gone silent. Worlds are declaring independence. They are no longer afraid of us." A younger counselor spoke carefully. "Perhaps they have seen something we did not." Her cold eyes turned toward him. "Do not speak to me of faith," she hissed. "This is treason wrapped in hope." But even among the council, doubt was growing. Whispers spread through their marble halls. What if the human was right? What if we have become the monsters? Meanwhile, far from the chaos, in the ruins of the battle site, a rebel salvage crew moved through the wreckage. Scanners beeped softly, searching for survivors or remains. "There's energy here," one said, deep under the debris. When they pulled away the twisted metal, their lights fell on something they didn't expect. A survival pod. Half crushed, still humming with life inside. Wrapped in blood and dust, a hand twitched. "Impossible," the soldier whispered. "He's alive." They carried him aboard their ship, unaware of who he truly was, only knowing that the galaxy was burning because of him. For days, Marcus drifted between life and death. His mind trapped between fire and memory. He heard voices. Talara's voice. Soft and distant. "Don't let them forget." He whispered her name in his sleep. The doctors didn't understand, but they kept him alive. When he awoke, the ship's captain stood beside his bed, her voice shaking. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "You're supposed to be dead." Marcus blinked slowly, his body weak. "Maybe I still am," he murmured. "No," she said, handing him a datapad. "Look." On the screen were images from across the galaxy. Alien children lighting candles under his symbol. Soldiers refusing orders. Fleets switching sides. "You started this," she said. "They call it the Human Accord." Marcus stared at the images, his eyes wet with quiet disbelief. "They made peace. Because of me?" She smiled faintly. "Because of what you stood for." In that moment, Marcus felt both pride and sorrow. He had fought for truth, not fame. Yet his name had become a weapon of hope, and hope, he knew, was the most dangerous thing in the universe. Meanwhile, Talara had survived too. Found by the rebels and hidden deep in the nebula colonies, she became a leader. Not through force, but through her voice. She spoke in the great assemblies, her words simple yet powerful. "You called us enemies," she said to the crowds. "But one human showed me that compassion has no species. No border, no flag, we will not fight for vengeance. We will fight for remembrance. Her speech reached the stars, and one by one planets signed the human accord, an alliance built on unity, not power, but not everyone welcomed peace. The Chancellor, furious and cornered, activated the last weapon of the old empire, the null wave, a massive energy pulse designed to erase data, history, and communications across systems. One strike would erase the memory of Marcus Hale forever. She stood before the console, her hand trembling. "Let the galaxy forget," she whispered, but before she could activate it, the council doors burst open. Her own guards stepped inside, their armor marked with the symbol of the beacon. "It's over," one said quietly. "We've seen the truth." The Chancellor turned in disbelief. "You traitors!" she screamed. "He infected you all!" The guard raised his weapon but didn't fire. "No," he said softly. "He reminded us what we were." Outside, the citizens stormed the palace, tearing down the council's banners, their chants echoing through the air. Truth cannot die, and in the shadows of that chaos, the nullwave core shut down forever. Weeks later, the galaxy finally calmed. The war was over, the empires were gone, and a new dawn began. Talara led the accord alongside leaders of once divided worlds. Her first decree was simple: no more species above another, no more fear. In the quiet of a small moon station, Marcus sat by a window, his arm in a sling, watching the ships of the new alliance cross the stars. Talara entered the room behind him, her steps soft. "They think you're dead," she said gently. Marcus smiled, his reflection faint in the glass. "Maybe that's for the best." She walked beside him, resting her hand on the table. "The galaxy needs you." He shook his head. "No, it doesn't need me anymore. It needs to remember what we can be." They sat in silence as the stars drifted past. And for the first time in centuries, there was no war in the heavens, no fear in the light. Outside the window, the new beacon of the Accord pulsed steadily, sending its signal across the stars, not of war, not of command, but of unity, of the truth one human had taught the galaxy. And somewhere far beyond, a child looked up at the night sky and asked, "Who was he?" Her mother smiled softly. "He was the one who reminded us that mercy is stronger than power." The stars shone brighter that night, and the galaxy finally knew peace. The return years passed, and the galaxy healed. The scars of war faded. The ruins were rebuilt, and the name Marcus Hale became legend. His story was taught in schools, sung in halls, whispered in prayers. They called him the Fireborn Human, the man who changed the stars with mercy instead of power. Under the human accord, peace ruled. Trade flowed between worlds once divided by fear. The Vorians and the humans worked together again, rebuilding what had been lost. And in the heart of the Accord capital, a great monument stood, a statue of a man shielding a small alien girl, light shining through their joined hands. But peace, as history always proved, never stayed silent for long. One night, under the twin moons of the Accord world Lysera, a deep signal pulsed through the network. Old, encrypted, unlike anything seen since the war. Technicians froze listening to its rhythm. 3 short beats, too long, then silence. Over and over again. "It's ancient human code," one whispered, his voice trembling. It's his beacon." Within hours, the message spread through the systems. From the mining belts of Kor to the ocean cities of Lyra, the same strange pulse repeated, carrying a location. A star long thought dead. Talara stood in her command chamber when the report arrived. Her silver eyes widened as she saw the coordinates. "That can't be," she whispered. "That's where he—" But she stopped, her heart pounding because she knew that system. It was the one where Marcus Hale had died. The council around her looked confused. "The beacon was destroyed," said one officer. "There's no way it could reactivate." Talara stared out the window, her reflection pale against the stars. "Unless it was never truly destroyed," she said softly. Without waiting for approval, she ordered her ship to prepare. "We're going," she said. "If it's a trap, I'll face it. If it's him, the galaxy deserves to know." The journey took days, through silent nebulae and forgotten systems. Every world watched her ship's path in secret. The people whispered, "She's going to find him." When the ship finally reached the dead system, the crew saw it, a single world hanging in darkness. Its surface cracked, its atmosphere faint, yet a faint golden light shimmered deep below the clouds, beating in time with the old human code. As they descended, the scanners went wild, detecting power levels impossible for any known reactor. "It's coming from beneath the surface," the pilot said. Something's alive down there. They landed among ruins. Human ruins. Old Federation architecture buried under dust and time. Talara stepped out, her cloak fluttering in the cold wind, her heart racing with every step. Inside a broken structure, she found the source, a chamber filled with ancient machines. And in the center, the beacon still glowing faintly, wires like veins running into the walls. It pulsed gently like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. She approached slowly, her voice trembling. "Marcus," she whispered. "If you're there, if you can hear me." The light flickered, the hum grew louder, and then a faint projection appeared when a human figure, blurry at first, then clear, it was him. Older, his eyes calm, his smile tired but warm. "Talara," the hologram said, his voice soft but filled with weight. "If you're seeing this." Then the galaxy kept its promise. Tears filled her eyes. She reached out instinctively, her hand passing through the light. "You're alive?" she asked in disbelief. The image shook its head slightly. "No, not alive," he said. "But not gone either." When the beacon exploded, it carried my consciousness into the data stream. I became part of the network, watching, guiding when I could. Talara fell to her knees, her voice breaking. "All this time, you were here?" "I saw everything," Marcus said, his holographic gaze gentle. "The peace you built, the kindness you kept alive, it was never about me. It was about all of you." She looked up at him. "Why now? Why send the signal after all these years?" The hologram dimmed slightly, his expression turning grave. "Because peace is being tested again," he said. "There are voices whispering in the shadows, ones who have forgotten what unity cost. I can feel their networks moving, rebuilding what we destroyed." The chamber trembled as static filled the air. The beacon's glow began to pulse faster. "They're coming," Marcus said, his voice sharp now. The council wasn't the end. Something greater survived in the dark. Talara stood, her fear replaced by resolve. "Then we'll face it," she said, "together." "As you taught us." Marcus's form flickered one last time, the warmth in his eyes returning. "You were always stronger than you believed," he whispered. "And if the galaxy forgets again, remind them what it means to be human." The beacon flared with light, filling the sky above the dead world. Ships in orbit turned their sensors toward it, seeing the golden glow spreading across the planet like dawn breaking after centuries of night. Back on Lysera, children pointed to the sky, seeing the light from afar, and their teachers whispered, "The Fireborn has returned." Across the stars, old alliances reawakened. Fleets once silent powered up again. Not for conquest, but for protection, a new symbol began to spread. The beacon surrounded by wings. The mark of the Accord reborn. Talara stood on the edge of the ruined city, the wind whipping through her hair, her heart steady. She looked up at the glowing sky and whispered, "Welcome back, Marcus." And somewhere, deep within the network, the old human voice replied faintly through static, "Always watching, always here." The legend of the Fireborn human lived again, not as a ghost, not as a hero, but as a promise, that even in the cold silence of space, one act of kindness could shake the galaxy twice.